I'm Matt Martelli. This is the Off-Road Racer Podcast, and I'm here with my brothers from another mother, the Brenthel Brothers, Jonathan and Jordan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's up, guys? You know, it's been a wild start to the year already. How many races have you guys done?
Every one of them. I don't know.
I can't count.
We don't usually count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gone like 30 weekends a year for off-road racing.
It was funny. I was making the comment, like, normally I have like about a half a page of notes on people, like, you know, just little things that I want to remember when we're talking about. Or when we're having a conversation. Yours are like 2 pages, right? You guys
Is
are
it that bad?
You guys are like some industrious dudes. Like when I think about like, man, I'm tired. I'm like, I know the Brenthel brothers are still going right now. But no, you know, it's funny because like we've known each other a long time.
Yep.
And obviously people know you now for you guys being, you know, vehicle builders, the school, now the Fox truck, Baja Kits, right?
Been a long journey.
Yeah, but let's go back. I mean, you didn't just show up and this was built. You guys built it.
Yep.
And you're first generation off-road racers, so it wasn't like your parents were like, "Hey, here's all the stuff."
Yeah, we always say it's a little unique. It's a little unfair to our kids, right? Like we're like, you guys are going to go in with all this knowledge. And my son and daughter, they're 10 and 13, 10 and 12 right now, but it's like, man, Jordan and I had to learn everything so freaking hard. We had to learn how to pre-run, how to get to a race, how to get food, just every part.
And we did a lot of messing up, a lot more messing up than learning, I think, along the way, which is all part of it.
Pre-running on dirt bikes, almost dying in 120 because we thought that was a good idea and didn't know any better, right? Just, so many iterations to it that when it started, definitely.
What initially got you into off-road?
So it was always a dream, right? I want to race a trophy truck when I'm, let's say, in high school. Actually, the picture I can remember, Scott Steinberger and his lightning truck over at Laughlin.
Black and yellow truck.
Yep. Like skying. And I was like, dude, that's a dream. And, you know, always had F-150s with FabTech lifts on them. Flipped like
Ranger,
2 of those, actually. Yeah, flipped a F-150 or Ranger in high school. Would like jump over trash cans because I thought that was really cool.
It is cool,
Moron.
Not until you roll them on the street, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, except the school thinks it's kind of cool, but then so it kind of went from that and had to get a real job and went off to mortgage. Actually started snowboards, manufactured snowboards for a few years. That was pretty interesting. Didn't work out really well. Couldn't really make a living out of it at 19, so went into mortgages. Started working for a mortgage company and killed it. I was like, oh, dude, I'm making tons of money. This is lots of fun. Did that for a few years and was like, wow, I'm a young guy making great money. I got sick of it. And I'm like, I want to work with my hands again. Because in high school, I kind of like lift trucks for money. Like I'd buy an F-150. I had a business account where I'd buy the wheels, tires, put a FabTech kit on it and sell it or do it for you. And from there, the mortgages, I said, I got to work with my hands again. I actually tried to buy a transmission shop. I thought that was pretty unique. In El Toro. I'm like,
you dodged a bullet.
Dude, totally, right? And it was
Not race car transmissions, by the way.
No,
That was
this is like turbo 400s. And I'm like, hey, the shop's like, I don't know what it was, 50 grand or something. And I'm like, I get a loan, I get this done. And they're like, so do you know how to build transmissions? I'm like, no. But like, you could teach me, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, we're not going to teach you how to build a transmission. So that ended real quickly. And actually, I went to work for Don at Sandcars Unlimited.
Nice.
And I was sweeping the floors. I was 20-something years old, and I had like 17-year-olds telling me I didn't know how to sweep the floor right. I'm like, all right. So as soon as I started there, hit up Jordan, and I'm like, hey, let's start an off-road race shop. You know, like let's build a trophy truck.
Mind you, I graduated high school like a few days earlier.
Yeah.
So he's just like, dude, you're a moron. Like, absolutely not. Like, our parents have always been self-employed. So, you know, they struggled. Life was rough. Wasn't easy as could be.
Small businesses, and, you know, we went through all of the struggles of just seeing that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no way. I want a 401k and a steady income. Like, I don't care if I make $100 a week. I know I can budget $100 a week, right? Like, whatever it is.
You're the smart
Just
one.
gonna pay my bills, you know.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm going to be driving trophy trucks one day. And, you know, I'm going to have guys like Larry Rosler showing me how to drive them. And I don't know what happened. What changed in your mind?
Geez, well, it took a long time. Literally the next morning, I'm like, "You're an idiot." Okay. And so from there, you know, he had already started, you know, working other places, like you said, Sandcars, and I went right out again. I mean, very limited knowledge in the off-road world at all, and just went to work for Quicksand. Went to work for Quicksand,
Quicksand.
another sand car
Right.
shop in Santa Ana at the time. Literally, I think within 1 week, we got our own shop. It was 800.
Not the shop. We were working in the
that was
garage for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. We're in the
So
garage.
we started in the garage, and I bought a welder from H&M, or sorry, bender from H&M.
Yep.
A welder, Hobart from, I believe,
Missoula? No.
that was later on.
That was later
but,
on, okay.
A bunch of tools, little things in the garage.
All used stuff.
And
Just as, yeah. Whatever
I
we
was
could get.
building a Baja Bug and started with CAD and did the suspension, the A-arms, 2D drawings. Jordan was doing a swing arm for a CRF 50. So that was like the 50 craze. So if we were a little quicker to it, we'd probably be these like really wealthy 50 guys. But
A mini bike.
that didn't work out.
Yeah.
But we started building the Bug, and it took forever. I'd redo it every single time. We ended up crushing it a few years later.
It was in the parking lot, and it was 4 a.m. We were leaving the shop or the house at the time, and we
That was a shop. That was
okay,
It
fine.
took us like 2 more years.
yeah.
So at that point, were you doing like whatever jobs came in the door, and then
No,
We still
we
had
weren't doing
jobs.
any jobs. We
Yeah.
weren't doing any jobs. Actually, our first job. So we were both working companies. Then I
Yep.
worked for Potter. I went into Raymond Potter, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, I know how to fat cars," and because I like did tubes. He's like, "All right, cool. Here's a chassis. Copy the one next to it. I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll see you in a couple hours at lunch." And I'm like, "Oh shit." I don't actually know that much. So like he comes back 4 hours later, and I did like a tube and a half, and he's like, "Seriously, dude?" I'm like, I worked there for a few years, and by the end, I was mocking out chassis every other day.
Yeah.
I worked for Johnny Kaiser at SPD and all that kind of good stuff. But
When you got to that point, was that like, because I know I've seen the progression of people where all of a sudden you realize like, hey, I can build a car.
It is the most amazing feeling, right? So a lot of jobs, you don't actually get to see what you build at the end of the day. This is like the most gratification you can imagine, because you're like, holy shit, I built that, and then to go inside of it. Yeah, it's pretty unreal.
which for me was a little different because I ended up working for Potter too, and then went to HMS, Damon Jeffries, and Roger Norman. But I was more on the design side. So in the beginning, we went to community college. We just kind of hit everything. We're like, we don't know everything. We need to learn everything. So we literally went to community college to start welding, OCC. And we lived over in Orange County at the time. And then same thing, SolidWorks lessons. At the time, it's like YouTube wasn't the same what it is today.
Yeah.
It's this huge community and just like, just look up absolutely everything you need to know. So, Jonathan was kind of taking off more in the fabrication area, and I, like Kat, we both did everything at jobs and whatever, and we just kind of both took off in these directions. And for me, the gratification was like seeing it in the computer, because I'm like, that's awesome. Sure, you can do that.
Nucleus of design.
That doesn't do it for me.
And that's why we work.
Yeah.
But it was pretty crazy, mind you. What for me, while I was learning SolidWorks, I started as a junior in high school, and I had no mentors, no nothing starting, and it's like barely, got a computer. I don't even know where it came from or how I afforded it. Just appeared there one day, got a bootleg version of SolidWorks or something, and
Yeah.
started doing
Student
it.
version.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because you guys are part of the new wave, the new school of,
Oh my gosh, we got
builders.
so much shit for it.
Right?
We won't name all the fabricators that yelled at us.
Listen, I was just telling these guys, I remember like we were doing a little bit of work for Danny Porter, right?
Yep.
And I'm at his shop, and he has this pile of metal on a pallet, and he's like, "That's a Class 1 car." And I was like, "What?" And he literally walked me over and goes, "Look, everything's laser cut. It's got little tabs. You can't screw it up. You just have to tab it together and weld it." And he goes, "You understand how revolutionary this is?" And I'm sitting there going like, everybody does this except for off-road. I didn't want to tell him that, right?
yeah.
But he was right, and that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was. We still tell people all the time. It's like now, I don't think there's a shop out there that doesn't use CAD, SolidWorks, Solid Edge, something, and just do it that way. And then you send it to a laser shop.
But we started by when I worked at other companies. I got a 4x8 sheet of metal and literally started putting it in a bandsaw and cutting out pieces this big with perfect radiuses, circles. Where it's just like, this is out of control. And it was even done in CAD. So it was like, what's going on?
We got a lot of heat, and I mean, we always have along the way, but that's just part of it. We got like heavy criticism.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well,
you're not a real fabricator because you laser cut it.
You go do that, and then when you become a real fabricator, you won't have to use the computer and do this. Like, well, no, Oh, okay, he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
It's more efficient. We can do it this way. We can try different things.
Isn't that crazy to think about it now? Like,
Yeah.
like it's funny because same thing. Like I've known you guys for a long time, and I've seen your career arc, right? And I remember going through the same thing in what we were doing, and people were like, "No, you don't understand. We need a TV show," and I'm like, "No, we don't need TV. We need social media and live streaming." And
Yeah.
you know, so it's kind of like the same thing. But it's really interesting to me too, because again, you guys were ushering in that era of the new school designers, and I think it's, you know, I would love to sit down with Knight Frank and pick his brain if he was still around, because there are some people who can, you know, think and dream in 3D. Yep. But I know from working on 3-dimensional programs that your brain, you start doing that, you know, and then you're doing, you know, geometry in your mind and going, hey, we got to move whatever this point back for better, you know, so it stops binding or whatever it is, right?
We look at a chassis all the time and something, and you're just like, that's crazy. We can now literally just look at something and go, you know, like that should be like this or this, and you can put it in the computer; it'll tell you the exact same thing. But after enough time of looking at it, you literally just take a glance at it, and you're like, yeah, that's off.
I think there's more knowledge beyond the computer. It's interesting. I'm curious about your opinion, because when you have the experience that you guys do, where you've designed it, you've built it, you've driven it, other people have driven it, you broke it. You know, you've seen all the flaws, right? Yep. And then somebody comes at you and goes, "Hey, you need to da-da-da-da-da. We FEA tested it." You're like, "That's going to break."
100%. Yeah, we always find it pretty unique that we're one of the few, if not only, that actually have, maybe not today, but like designed it all, welded it, wired it, assembled it, and driven it, right? Because if you're getting feedback from a driver, that's amazing. But I think it's really important to be able to have it yourself as well, right? Like, it's hard to take someone's verbally what they're trying to tell you and then put that into a vehicle.
I think that's you know, there are very few, in my observation, of relationships between builders and racers. There are very few relationships that they're very good at communicating. Yep. You know, like, so I agree with you. I think that there's just a huge advantage to you guys doing all those steps and being able to go, you know.
And even when a driver does give us feedback, right, we understand it, I think, quite a bit differently than someone that doesn't actually drive it and only, you know, puts it together in a computer and fabs it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was literally, right now we're in design on our Gen 4 6100 truck.
Whoa. That was top secret.
Not anymore. So right as we're designing, and, you know, the truck's great. It's won championships and it's doing fantastic, but the class is getting crazier and faster, and
super competitive.
It's got to be better.
Yeah.
So, you know, some of the things that we've been developing and working on, and some of the improvements, you know, at the Parker race are out there, and it's like, you know, the course is just getting chewed up. Obviously, every lap it gets gnarlier and gnarlier, and hitting these things. And it was really cool, though. Again, that's the driving part of the whole development process is. I was literally driving, and I was telling my navigator, we were going 90 miles an hour. You know, we're going 85, and I was trying to hit 90 to do this, whatever. There was a particular turn, and I was like, "Oh, you see that? See that?" He's like, "Yeah, it hurt." I'm like, "Yeah." So the new truck, you know, it's just like going through like the solution. I'm like, the new truck's not going to do that because we're going to. It was just a cool part of that whole process.
Every instance, yeah.
No, it's really cool. I think it's something that's very unique about our sport, because like when you go into other forms of racing, like the guy, you know, he may be a badass and, you know, he can design an F1 car, but he's not driving it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's not getting he can look at the data, but he can't feel it. You know, so I think that's, you know, something that's very powerful in our style of motorsport. You know, it's like builder, racer, that's a unique thing, you know?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because we get that with machinists.
Yeah.
So we get, like, we'll have machinists come in, and, you know, they might have worked in aerospace a bunch, and like, this is cool. I don't know, I was making like a part and it went on a spaceship. Like, they don't know where it went, though.
Right.
And they come here and they're like, I just made
Yeah, they get really stoked.
billet upright, which is just a cool part off the mill on its own. And they're like, and then I saw them bolting it on, and then I saw it drive in a race, and then I saw it win.
You get the gratification, right? Like
100%.
Instead of it just going out the door to someone else that assembles it, who knows where. It's like, dude, they watched the vehicle. They're like, dude, I went over at break time and I saw them building the truck of the parts I made. It's like, it's really cool.
It's funny because, like, we were talking about that. Obviously, the Mint just got finished, and we were kind of making this joke of like, man, we feel like every single person who builds a vehicle or a part, should get an award that says this went 4 laps at the Mint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the Mint specifically, they definitely should.
So that is a really cool thing to be able to see your creation actually in work. It's like it's coming alive.
Yeah.
I remember it was funny when I was a kid. I was at one of these hippie schools that we grew up in, and they gave us an assignment, and they said you need to make something living out of paper mache. And I'm like, okay, so I made the General Lee. And they're like, no, that's not a living and breathing thing. And I'm like,
of course it
is. It is.
Like hell it is.
It jumps. It's got the Duke boys in it. It's, it has this badass engine. And the teacher's just looking at me going, you're going to work construction.
Yeah. Totally.
But so you guys are, you're working jobs at different places. You had your own shop as well. Like, talk
we were
about
building
that.
a 4-seater. So we were building a 4-seater. Our whole goal was to build race cars, a trophy truck. I said, we're going to build a trophy truck one day. And Jordan still thought I was absolutely nuts.
Well, it is. I mean,
Still trucking along, but
but just to put in a context in that era, there was probably only 3 trophy truck
Correct.
builders at that time,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
to say
Very,
that,
very
it's
few.
like we're building a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty out of control, the idea of it. And I'm like, we're going to do it. We're going to get there. And we didn't have the dollars to get there. So we started building a 4-seater. And actually, my dad knew that we did like fabrication, but he doesn't really know what that means or what it was.
How detailed.
My dad's more like a salesman. So he was at a gas station. And this dude's got a Tacoma, and I don't know how they got talking. Maybe the guy had a sticker on the back window.
Our dad he'll
Talk to anybody.
Yeah, he'll
right?
sell
He's a
ice
salesman.
to an Eskimo.
So he's like, "Hey, my boys do off road. You want a kit for that?" And I'm like, and the guy's like, "Yeah, sure. Let me get their number." Dad's like, wait, I got you a sale.
Call us up. I got you a sale.
I got you a sale. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're buying a race car from us? It's bitching. He was like, no, it's a kit. I'm like, we don't do kits, Dad. Like, we don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
Like,
He's got
we never
a
intended to
Tacoma,
do
and
kits.
yeah, he needs a kit. And I told him you'd make him one.
And then we're like,
Wait.
no one makes it for a 5-lug. This is genius. We'll build it with a 5-lug, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a Toyota because it was like the lower model.
Right.
And nobody did a kit for it. So we're like, yeah, great idea. Well, there's a reason no one did a kit for it. It's because they wouldn't sell.
Right.
Because they were such an inexpensive truck. But we built it for them and we, TIG welded it. But that was actually the start of Baja Kits.
That was the very first kit. I mean, that was the last of that particular one. Like we did one and done. We're like, ooh, we nope, not going to do that again. But
Then we built a 4-seater. And the 4-seater was a really good story, right? Because we put anything and everything I'd ever had in my life into building this 4-seater. And we put it up on Auto Trader back then. I paid the full $100 to put it on the front cover. And, getting calls, $55,000. I'm like, oh, come on, please, sell tomorrow so I can build another one. We can pay rent.
build another one so you could eat.
We could eat, right?
We were on the 99-cent menu at that time.
Yeah, we had like 10 years of the 99-cent menu, we call it, where 99 cents for lunch, 99 cents for dinner. That's it.
It was $1.07 each.
Yep. And
Those are real stories, though,
That's
that people
100%.
need to. Because like I think, and that's why I was looking forward to having this conversation, is because like I've known you guys that long.
yeah.
Right. And we've kind of done very similar things in that people don't, they see what's built and they're like, oh man, they're rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and in particular, you guys, you didn't like sit back and go, okay, this is enough. It's like you guys keep adding stuff, right?
Unfortunately. Why. Yeah. I don't know why.
But okay, so you're on the 99
So we're on the 99 cent menu. And actually at this time, my chick was like, I've been in this like 10 years and her and I have been together 22 years, back then 10, I guess. And she gave us like $20 for lunch, no joke. And it was like Thursday. I'm like, hey, can I have some more money? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I think I need to go back and get a job. And she's like, absolutely not. I'm like, what? Are you nuts? Like, we're not making any money. We're like totally broke. And she's like, just keep going. You're fine. Like, she's like, you put everything you had into it. You sold all your crap, this and that. I'm like, all right. So we go to take this 4-seater and this guy calls from Vegas and he goes, we didn't have money to get it out there.
Literally could not drive, didn't have fuel to get there. Credit cards
He
were
gave us a $500 deposit. I don't know if it was PayPal back then. I don't know how he got it to us.
I don't know.
We didn't have Zelle, and all that stuff. So he gives us the money. We're supposed to meet him the next day. This is no joke. We go to load it up on the trailer.
It was actually me. I did it.
I wasn't going to say that part, but
that's all right.
broke transmission.
reversed it up on a trailer, right?
You can't reverse those.
It was
those
a buggy with a weak
2D.
reverse gear.
Yeah,
and,
it was a 2D, Mendiola 2D. We hit up Sam over at Rancho, and we're like, dude, we need like the biggest favor in the world. And he took care of it, and we got it. We pulled the trans out, went over to Sam at Rancho, brought it back, knocked it out, got to the dude. Dude was wild. He gets in the car, and he's like, Dad. I'm like, dude, you're going to kill us. Two-wheeling it everywhere, bicycling it.
Mind you, we're not in Gene. Like, this isn't like a testing spot. We just like go to a dirt
pulled off.
area.
We didn't know what we were doing or where to go. It
Yeah.
was like, he's like, all right, I'll meet you at this casino and we'll pull off the street somewhere, right? And so it was out of control. The dude's all, and I think my method typically is show people a benefit, and from there, let them make their choices, right? I don't like,
Sure.
It's not like pressure. And the dude promised us if he liked it and it was cool, blah, 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 he'd buy it. Because it was a really big deal for us to get out there. And he's done with it. And he's like, fuck, I swear, he tore the car in half. He was just so wild with it. And he's like, all right, well, we'll think about it. And I'm like, I just looked at him and I'm like, what the are you talking
Our
about,
stomachs
dude?
dropped. We're like, we literally can't get home.
I'm
Like, there's zero. We don't have any money. Zero. Like,
I put the nails.
fuel.
I'm like, dude, you said do you like the car? He's like, dude, this thing's amazing. I love it. And I'm like, you said you would buy the car if we could. And he's like, all right, let's go to the bank. I'm like, oh shit, that didn't really happen. And we go to the bank, and he bought the car, and we delivered it, and we got Red Robin that night. I think it was.
We splurged. Went to a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant. We had a burger.
We had all the money to get back on gas. Yeah, that was a good one.
It's funny though, because like you do that and
Yeah.
you just climb the mountain, and normal people would be like, all right, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Right? But then you go, well, we did that. What else can we do?
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually sold that guy 2 more cars.
Yeah. Almost. I mean, not all, but I think almost every client
customer
has
purchased 2
has
cars.
purchased 2 vehicles of some sort. Yeah.
And the first time they come in, they go, I'm not that guy. I will never buy another one. I can barely afford what I'm doing here. I'm like, watch this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're selling in essence is fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't really have a ceiling. Like if you can afford it.
You know what's funny, though? A lot of these guys actually couldn't afford it. I mean, I've got sales calls that I'm still dealing with from 10 years ago.
Sure.
10. And they hit me up and they're like, I'm ready. Well, they might have been just like us. A couple of kids trying to do a business and they were doing construction or whatever the heck they were doing.
10 years went by.
10 years went by and boom.
Yeah.
Now that they were dreaming of it their whole life. And they were talking to me about it. And I was willing to take their calls. So they're still like, all right, I'll go with you guys.
Never count anybody out. Sometimes it's 10 years later.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's very true. I mean, it's interesting. Again, it's like that's the power of really it's our culture, right?
Yeah.
Like you're either in it or you're not. And if you're in it, there's never a point where you're going to be like, trophy trucks aren't that cool.
Yeah. No.
They're always going to be cool.
Always cool.
Always going to be cool. So then, what was the next step, in your business at that point?
Definitely 7,200, in my opinion.
That was a big step.
That was a
We
big
moved
turning point for us, right? So
we moved to another shop after that, right?
yeah, we moved. We moved from 800 square feet to 2,000 square feet in Newport, which is badass. We go down to the frickin' peninsula and have lunch all the time, which is great. TK Burger and a couple other good ones. But then it went from, okay, we're building the chassis and another chassis. We started building F-150 kits. We were one of the first Raptor ever kits.
When the 2010 Raptor, the orange extended cab came out. Yep.
A guy from overseas actually had us build a long travel kit for it. So we were kind of doing a little mix, and then we hired an employee. And that was huge.
Massive.
Huge. It was like, dude, what are we doing? Like, how can we hire someone? And like, we can't pay them. We don't even have enough money to come here. And then we're like, oh, wow, they're like doing things. Well, we're able to do other things. We just get more things out the door.
It's like we're multiplying ourselves. This is crazy.
It's only one person, but this is crazy.
It was mind blowing. Yeah.
And then in that shop, we probably had 3 to 5 people eventually. Start getting builds. A big one actually was Off-Road Expo. Nick Baldwin.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Baldwin comes in, and we built this truck for, I think it was $50,000 for this guy overseas in Pakistan.
An F-150.
F-150, fully caged, front and rear suspension. Nick Baldwin comes into the booth. He's like, hey, what is that? F-150. He's like, cool. How much was it? I'm like, it's like $50,000. Could you do it for $150? What? I just said, I'm sorry. I said it was 50,000, sir. He's like, yeah. Could you do it like really fucking badass though for 150? I'm like,
Right.
yeah, no, we could totally. Yeah, we could do that. Next week he brings over a 90,000, whatever the hell it was, platinum F-150
Straight from the dealership, which we thought was insane at the time.
Yeah.
And
People, there was kind of a gap between a proper luxury pre-runner that's, $700,000 and like an F-150.
Yeah.
And this, Nick's like, I want to do something that's like still totally street worthy, different kind of off-road capability, but like looks insane.
Right.
And he had all
Yeah,
the
I remember
leather
that
done.
truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty gnarly.
floor-link, textured paint.
It's funny because there's a part of this where the market will dictate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then there's a part of it where you're like, hey, I have an idea. I'm looking at how many of these vehicles are out there.
Yep.
We should make a kit for this, right? And it's interesting now to see where the whole aftermarket off-road industry is. And the funniest thing for me is going to Overland Expo and seeing
Yeah.
all these guys who are like, I had blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't know what you're doing, dude. Like all this stuff exists, right?
Yeah.
And I get you're going to go slow, but it's still going to break, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's very interesting. Having to work within that combination of the ideation and concept,
Yeah.
but also like what's coming in the door. What are people asking for?
I think
right?
that's been 10x to 1 of like ideas we had to what people asked for. They dictated, the market dictated what
Yeah.
we were going to do. And when the 7200 market was there, that was the next thing, was like, oh, okay, with this trucks with a $60,000 motor. It was like a $200,000 truck and it had this Busch NASCAR motor.
They were all live axle trucks.
Live axle. Bitchin' trucks worked really well, but it was like, well, what could we do that was within the rules, within the limits? And
we knew buggies.
We
didn't
already
know
knew
trucks
buggies.
yet. We weren't in that realm.
we built a car that was like 90 grand compared to 250, 300. It had the motor was like $1,800.
It was a junkyard V6.
Literally a junkyard
Yeah.
V6.
So like a 3.5 direct injected.
So it's
Chevy engine.
transaxle. It's a rear engine. So it's going to turn better. It's going to go really well. It's not going to go through the bumps as well, no question. But we were able to go out the first year. That was my first year racing, it was 2012, and in Mexico, and won the championship with it. And it was just like it was mind blowing, right? And all of a sudden, the phone starts ringing.
That's an important inflection point too. Like, what was that like? Because you start. Most people don't know. You start building stuff, and people have no faith in you.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah.
then RDC comes along.
Yeah.
Right. And social media, and people are just like, they're killing you.
Yep.
They're talking about, people who have never built a vehicle in their life are telling you how bad you are and how everything you're doing is wrong. And
We had a lot of sleepless nights.
yeah,
A lot
and
of.
it's brutal. It's funny because like I
hurts.
listen to Rogan, and Rogan's like, don't look at the comments, right?
Dude.
And man, you start going down that rabbit hole. And I used to do it, right? And now people send me stuff, and I'm like, I didn't want to see that,
Yeah.
But
We try to not send it to each other at night.
Yeah.
Wait till the next morning at
Yeah.
least.
It'll be like you see something. It's like, why do I need to ruin his night? Mine's already done. So I'll wait till tomorrow.
well, I tell the story that we screwed up one year at the Mint with the motorcycles, and we had to cut their race down in half, right? And it was our mistake. And so we took it on the chin. I called me, my brother, and Killian called every single motorcycle racer, said, hey, we're sorry. We'd like to give you half your money back. And everybody was cool, right? I think there was one guy who said, okay, I'll take my money back. Everybody else said, no, we understand. We'll see you next year. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we understand, this is a live dynamic thing. And then there was one guy online who was going from RDC to Instagram to Facebook and just wrecking us. And I'm like, hey, Killian, did this guy race with us? Nope.
Oh, dude.
Then I started cross-referencing all the other race leagues and all the stuff and couldn't find this guy anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Then I'm like, who is this guy? Right. And so I figured out like this guy lives down in El Cajon, and I figured out where he lives. And I'm like, I want to know. I mean, it was that he was skewering us.
Yeah.
Oh, we know.
Yep.
And then people would get behind him, and I'm like, you know what I mean?
We do. Yeah.
And so I go down, and it's like, those places in El Cajon that used to be hotels and now they're apartments, like
Okay.
shady,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This guy lived up on the second floor and no motorcycle, no history of motorcycle racing, no nothing. Walks out, guy's like 450 pounds, right? And I'm like looking at him going, that's what I'm worried about? This dude? What he says? I'm like, after that, now I'm like, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
You want to criticize me? Why don't you put on an off-road race?
Yeah, but it sucks when it can hurt your business, right?
It does suck.
And we've had many a times in our business where knuckleheads online that don't know anything about anything have absolutely ruined, could have ruined our business.
Well, because it's swaying an opinion of somebody who generally doesn't know. Like they're going to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
They want to make a good decision, and they're going, wait, what?
Yeah.
Right?
They look at one little review and they're like, oh, maybe that's not the best idea. So, that's tough. Yep.
So, that inflection point where you finally win a championship and everybody's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Brenthel isn't so bad, right? He just smoked everybody.
That was actually in the time when people were having a really hard time getting cars out of people, if you remember. People would give deposits to lots of buggy builders.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't get their cars. And so they're like, what's to say you guys are going to not do the same thing? And we're like,
especially being a new shop.
And we're new. They really didn't have any right to trust us.
Sure.
So that just made it that much more difficult. But once you start delivering the cars and winning the championship, and then we got a lot of trash talked for winning my championship, and you were navigating.
You see, so the first year we did anything, it's like we're always trying to be as efficient as possible. So at the time we had one race car, and Jonathan was racing that. I'm like, well, okay, you need a navigator. I'm going to hop in with you. You can still learn from the right seat.
Sure.
I've done a ton of right seat, over the years, and I got to learn a lot about the car. So the next year, they came on and said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna win a score championship. Try doing that in the States.
You can't do that stateside.
Can't do that
stateside. BITD was actually bigger in that class.
In that class. So that was Jonathan's rookie year in our first race car that we ever developed. And so then that next year was like, okay, well, that was my rookie year. So the next year I drove the same car, and he didn't navigate with me. I don't know why.
Nope.
And and then I went and won my rookie year, won the championship in BITD.
Nice.
And it was just funny because that's what they called it. I was like, oh, all right, cool.
We sold about 25 of those. So that was really good for us.
And the same year, that same chassis won the championship in Snore as well.
Oh, we won like 4 of them.
It's like 4 championships in a row.
It was crazy.
And everyone's like, oh, that's it. It's like, we're within the rules. And
I remember that because it was obviously there was a lot of shit talking on you guys, right?
Yep.
But it was also like it's always fun for me. I love when people, prove people wrong. I love it when there's that moment of like, oh yeah, because that's the beauty of off-road racing is like, as a promoter, I don't decide who wins. Hell, most of the time I get it wrong, right? I look at it and I'm like, well, and because you can't, there's like stuff going on at each shop with each person and all these variables that intersect. And then you have the Mojave, you have weather, prep, your staff, like so many things that go into it that everything has to jive.
It's pretty dynamic.
And it's super dynamic, right? So then when you guys, and especially what I love about it is like the level of skin in the game that you have at that point, right? Like you're going to the race going, if we don't win, we're not going to make money, right? How long can we keep doing this, right? Because if we don't win, we don't sell cars, like we're done. Yep. Like there is no like,
100%.
SBA. Oh, hey, we're gonna bail you guys out so you can keep racing because you think it's really cool. It didn't exist, and also at that point in that class, there wasn't a lot of sponsorship dollars. No. I think you guys at that point, didn't you get a bunch of support from General, right?
We did.
Dana
good call.
She was awesome.
Dana was taking care of us.
Yeah, so it's funny.
Actually, I just hit her up yesterday.
Yeah. No, she helped a lot of people, man.
Yep.
It's really cool, and she's still in off road now,
big time
with her shops. But no, I mean that's the thing is like when you get that victory, and then people are like, "Yep, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll take one." And then
we moved on, right? To then it was 6100 class. We built our first 6100 truck, and I think we had 2. We'd built ours and Arturos.
Yep.
And now it's like, all right, well, 7200 class isn't quite dying, but it's just not progressing like crazy, and people aren't building a ton of them anymore.
Right.
So we built the 6100 truck, and it was already the same thing. It's like, oh, well, there's 1 or 2 other brands out there. They're winning some races. It's like, oh shit. And then we go to the Baja 500, and It was pretty rad. Larry Rosler, someone's like, oh, I bet Larry Rosler would love to go pre-running with you. I'm like, what? No. Like, he's like, well, he's about to go on a bike. Like, would he want to go on a bike or would he want to go with you? I'm like, oh, I'll hit him up. Yeah, what's up? So Larry's like, absolutely, I'll pre-run with you. I'm like, well, dude, you can drive the whole time. I'll sit right seat. Like, I'm stoked.
Let's not miss a step. A big part of it is we were pre-running in a race truck.
Oh, that's right.
Which these days is very, very common.
Yeah, it
right?
wasn't
It's like,
normal then.
I mean, almost any team has
about
2
that.
trucks and they're
Right.
pre-running in a race truck. Back then, we were crazy enough to just, we're
Crazy enough,
we
we didn't really
everything.
have money in any of them.
Well, but it was also because you didn't have a pre-runner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. But at the same time, it's like, and everyone's like, you're going to go pre-run? This is the race truck. Not
Yeah.
like, now we use a different pre-runner truck versus they're identical, but different. It was the race truck we were going to go race.
100%.
And it's like, well, I don't know if it's got to go 1,000 miles to the Baja 1000. Why can't it go race Baja?
That's always the thought process,
Pre-run a
right?
500 once and then go. So anyway, that's when Larry's like, I've never pre-run in a race truck before.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, here's your chance, bud.
Dude, he taught me hundreds of things. I mean, he taught me how far to look ahead. And you're not talking like look ahead to that turn. You're talking about like look to mountains, right? Like
Yeah.
literally like, oh, and now that I see that we're going through that range, I can literally just wood it and I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we also go slow here. What do you mean you don't just charge through that silt no matter what? He's like, no, you idiot. If there's 4 guys stuck in it, you maybe take some time. I'm like, I'm confused. What?
And we're
I
very,
thought we were
very green.
racing.
Yeah, this is our second year into racing, even though we've been building things. And again,
But it's like having Obi-Wan Kenobi pre-run with
Yeah,
you. You know what I
totally.
mean?
Yeah.
Like that's
It's a
all the
cheat code
knowledge.
book.
The level
Yeah.
of knowledge is incredible, right?
And it was another aha moment because I told Jordan like way back in the day, right?
Yep.
Like we're gonna drive a trophy truck and we're gonna have guys like Larry Rosler show us what to do. I'm like, dude, this is really happening. He's like, in your face. I'm like,
I don't mind. All right.
Yeah.
and to take the cake of all of it, right? Like it's this huge field. It's us introducing a new truck, and I won the race.
Yeah.
Sold the whole thing and won the Baja 500. And that was a moment. That was big.
What did that feel like?
It was, I think, surreal, and I didn't realize how big it was. The biggest point was the next week. And the next week, literally driving down Newport, I swear everywhere we went, you're like, how many people are into off-road? And he's like, dude, Jonathan, congrats. And you're like, what? Who are you? Like
who is that guy?
in Newport? Like,
Yeah, you're the hometown guy.
Yeah, it was like
now everybody wants to know you,
dude,
right?
that was more like just help you understand, like, whoa. And the phone started ringing.
Yeah.
No joke. Like literally like, hey, yeah, we'll grab a truck. What are the prices? Let's come down and look at one. You're like, oh my gosh. Like that was a huge turning point. That was pretty epic.
It's pretty crazy again to just, like people look at this from the outside and they have all these kind of like ideas of how things are and points of view of it and criticism, whatever it is. But like, literally, if if your vehicles don't win, people aren't going to buy them.
No.
And what's really tough is a lot of times the guys who come in with, the big money aren't good racers, right?
Yep.
So, some of them are,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Some of them are like, hey man, I just want to go have a good time. And that guy's a customer, he's a great customer, but he's not going to then sell you vehicles. Right.
Yep.
And I see it happen to shops sometimes where they get a guy, he's funding everything, it's going. And I'm like, that's not going to get you a win, man.
Yeah.
And as everything's evolved, that's one of the things that I think has been really cool about you guys is you've given some really good racers opportunities, to drive as a paid driver,
Yep.
and that they otherwise wouldn't have had.
Something we noticed that we were selling more race trucks than anyone ever has in the world, right? No one's ever sold 10 to 15 trophy trucks or spec trucks a year.
In X amount of time.
In a year. And that was every year consistently. And that's killer, right? And we were stoked on that. And we're growing and the company's growing. But at some point every year you look back and go, what are my goals and what do I want to do? And it was like, that's cool that we're selling more and probably, growing and all this stuff. But we want more wins. And so Jordan and I hadn't been racing as much then. We definitely took our foot off the gas, and we're focusing on the business. And then, like you said, we started hiring people to help drive with us.
Yeah.
And that was just monumental. Once again, it was another 10-year stint of, going from wins to not as many of them. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we won the Mint 400 trophy truck and KOH, and we're podiuming a lot of races. And all of a sudden, oh, those trucks are very capable. And that was again a new truck. That was a new Gen 3. where we'd made a whole new design change because you got to keep moving, right? If you don't move forward, then you're moving backwards in racing. That's 100%.
So let's go back for a second.
Yeah.
So cool. You're good on 6100. Plus, the other thing contextually I think is important is like that was a new class.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like there weren't 40 of those vehicles out there. There was maybe like 10.
Probably up to 15 to 20.
Yeah.
So that class was still at that
not
point
40. Yeah.
being built, right?
Definitely.
And so that even wasn't a guarantee. So it was even more risk, right? So you get that. And at what point were you like, okay, let's build a trophy truck?
First trophy truck. Well, we had two.
Yeah.
We had one that was really early on, but it wasn't a proper competitive trophy truck, I guess. The actual vehicle was kind of like put an LSX in it, and it's got like 800 horsepower, but it's not like a big time. The first trophy truck really was for Richie Armstrong.
Yeah.
That was our Gen 3, and Richie's like, let's do it. Let's put in. I'm like,
big block.
Yeah. I'm like, you don't want to do like pump gas? He's like, no, we're gonna do like race gas. I'm like, oh shit, this shit's getting expensive. He's going like real, and he built a proper trophy truck, and that was insanely fun to drive for a long time. Still is, but
so a lot of development, obviously, from just working from the 6100 trucks we're used to, then going to the big power of the trophy truck, the power of the speeds, and just having to adjust things.
2 years of probably teething
again, which is bonkers. Like, so two broke kids from Newport, right? And you're having to do vehicle development, right? This isn't Ford or Chevy coming in and saying, guys, we got you. Here's our checkbook. Go out and test every day. We'll recut whatever. Like, it was, hey, how many more 99-cent lunches do you want to have? Right?
Are we done yet? No, that was that was a long time of learning. Just the standard trophy truck, the 2-wheel drive, was a few years of little bugs and things and working them out.
Well, and I remember that era because that was the Geyser era, right? Where they really had it dialed, and they had built a remarkable package because both Rick and Jeff had a lot of experience with other builders. They'd seen what worked and what didn't work, and they built a really simple, like bulletproof truck and easy to drive, right? So for the timing and of everything going on, because I remember, I don't know if you remember, but like at that point I was working with the McMillans, and they had bought one of Robbie's trucks, and I'm like, hey, I don't really know anything about this, but I think you should just get a Geyser, right? And after going through, I can't remember how many years, Scott looked at me and goes, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get a Geyser.
One of those Geyser trucks.
And he started laughing, and I'm like, okay. And Andy went on I think
killing it.
One of the biggest winning streaks ever.
Yes.
But I mean, again, here it is. Cool. You got the 6100 dialed. You proved it. Now you entered into the trophy truck.
The elite field.
Yeah. And it was deep. It was like, Geyser had so many trucks out there and interchangeable parts and just knowledge and all this kind of stuff. And, you guys are like, yep, cool. We're going to take that on too. That'll be cool.
Probably wasn't a good idea in hindsight.
Yeah.
No, I'm just hindsight now.
I mean, I think to me, one of the things that I respect about you guys is just sheer tenacity.
Yep.
Right? Is like the amount of hours you work, the amount of things you take on. Like, again, people don't know, like, oh yeah, you guys are driving trucks to Mexico when you go. You're driving trucks to the Mint. You're racing with customers a lot of times if they don't have a guy to go around with them. Like, you're very hands-on.
Yeah. It's grown over the years to get more and more people to do those different areas, but definitely still are.
It's become a big wheel for us. In our little world, coming from a garage, we're like, why are we in a garage? And now there's
like
I don't even
up
know
to
how
50
many,
people at any given time. Between 35 and 50.
Well, and so you get you get into trophy trucks, right?
Yeah.
And that took some time. And do you think that was kind of your hardest kind of climb?
Definitely, and we're still in our hardest climb, honestly, with all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always in our the way we see it.
True.
We're always in something hard because we're always pushing.
Yeah.
If we aren't pushing, then I don't. It
And the
wouldn't be
two-wheel
us.
drive, I kind of feel like right when we got it dialed in and starting to win races,
Yeah.
is kind of when the all-wheel drive started just taking off from everyone else so much more because they'd been in development and they weren't really winning or doing well yet.
Right.
And then they just started to, as we were, and I'm like, oh crap, man! Now we really got to push on that all-wheel drive. Like let's go. And so yeah, the
A lot of development time in the all-wheel drive.
the all-wheel drive has been it's been fun. It's really.
It's really challenging. I think it's interesting because, again, what I don't think people realize is they think, they look at it and they go, oh, well, we've always had 4-wheel drive trucks. And I'm like, not with 26 inches of travel on it. You know what I
Over
mean?
1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, like you're going into a mechanical area where it's like it's just spaceship stuff, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at over 20 years, because how long have you guys been doing this?
22
Yeah.
years.
Actually,
Yeah.
March. Is this 22 years?
22
I don't know.
years.
22
I think,
years,
yeah.
Yep.
right? And like now you look at a CNC'd hub, and you're like, dude, that's a work of art. 20 years ago, you're like, just here, we're gonna buy this hub, and that's all there is, right?
Yep.
So the development part of it is just bonkers, and the fact that like, again, it's been builders, right? It's been you, it's been Mason, it's been Geyser, it's been Tisco, it's been Jimco, it's been, all the different builders, right?
Yep.
And they're paying for it, and they're putting in the time. It's not, this giant corporation. It's not General Motors going, hey, we're going to put a couple $1 billion into developing. It's like
$10 million budget to build this truck.
it's
right?
It's crazy
we
when
don't
you
have
think
that.
about it. But you've done it,
Yep.
and you've done it, and you've done it, and now you're doing it again with 4-wheel drive.
Yep.
And you guys just pulled a pretty significant victory at the Mint, winning that class. And
It was epic.
yeah, I mean, Scavuto's a rookie driver, right?
Yep.
But he's he drove a smart race and didn't overdrive the truck, and
Yeah. Congrats
there
to
at the
him
finish,
for winning in a Brenthel truck. We were stoked on that. Yep. Yeah, we've got 4 of them out there now, 2 more on order. So it's coming.
Well, and then let's talk about kind of the rest of the empire, because just talking about
That's only race trucks. That's like a small part of our revenue.
It's a percentage these days.
Yeah.
so Baja Kits grew.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then you guys partnered with Fox on it, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have Trophy Truck School.
Yes. So that's
Right.
something that, like we were talking about earlier, it grew out of necessity, right? Like we didn't know. Jordan and I would go out to the desert.
Kind of like Baja Kits. They're just like
Baja
people
Kits.
wanted the kits.
Hey.
We made this company. Okay.
Matt goes, I want to drive a trophy truck. I want to see, I'm about to buy one. Can I get a ride? And I'm like, oh, yeah. I'll go out to the desert, give you a ride. Cool, that was bitching, man. I don't know. And then we're like, dude, we can't do this all the time. So we hire like an instructor. It was free, of course. We weren't charging because we just thought they were going to buy a truck or hope they did. And who knows how many times they did or didn't after.
We're always willing to
Invest.
eat it a little bit and invest to try something new.
So then you get an
right?
instructor.
But just to be clear, in other forms of racing, they don't do that unless you're vetted.
Correct.
Right? Like I got invited to race 24 hours of Daytona, and they're like, "Yeah, cool. All right, sign right here. We're going to need $150,000, and
Wow.
we're going to need a $50,000 damage deposit, and blah blah." And I'm
Did
like,
we forget to get that when we were doing it?
One second, we got to make some notes right here.
I'm like, wait, what? To drive a Porsche that is now heavier than a street Porsche because it's got a cage and everything, and I'm like, man,
Nah.
I'm good.
Nah.
Yeah.
Like, so, so this came out of necessity.
It came out of necessity. And then we'd hire like Chuck Dempsey and be like, hey, we can't do it. Can you go out? And he's like, hey, I think these guys want to drive. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, man? Like, they can't drive. And then it was like, all right, well, we got to pay Chuck.
And it was our race truck at the time, right? Just like,
So we're like, okay, now we got to charge like for these guys. And I'm like, well, maybe if we charge $1,000. And you're like, well, that seems expensive. And then then we go out to these road racing things. We're like, oh, we got to get them lunch. We got to get like a trailer. We got to get a space. We're like, all right, we're going to elevate the experience. Let's just keep going. And it was like only to buy a race truck initially. And then we're like, guys, can I do this for my birthday? Yeah, not really. It's kind of expensive for us to go out and do it for your birthday.
wives started calling in
For their husband's
and then they're
40th.
like, hey, a
The husband's
surprise for
50th.
my husband's birthday. He'll love this. And it's like, okay. And then we'd have doctors
now it's a
and
thing.
dentists and all these people.
Now it's the only place in the world you can go drive a trophy truck. We're out there 3 to 5 days a week right now. Jordan and I were out there yesterday to meet one of them. And it's out of control. It's like we had no idea where this was going to go.
I'm so excited that you guys did that. Like initially when we talked about the idea, I was like, dude, we got to tell everybody about this, right?
Yeah.
Because me as a promoter, I want to open up the world to this, right? Because I've been to all the sports car racing facilities and I've watched how they operate, and it's very smart.
It's great.
You know what I mean? They're very professional about the whole program. And but to your point, it is this whole experience, and it's a gateway for people to come in. And we want people to come in a way that they stay and they have a good time and a good experience, and that starts with.
And speaking of that, I went to Spring Mountain, if you're familiar, like Corvette school out in Vegas, and I was like, man, this is a proper school. This is a proper curriculum.
Yeah.
And this is a much nicer experience. I mean, ours is, it's Wild West. I mean, you get out and you get in a trophy truck within like 15 minutes.
Right.
There's no like 2 hours of classroom, which we will have in the future. But right now, you're in the middle of the desert.
It's all about driving.
It is about driving, which is really cool. But actually, a lot of people want a little bit more of the experience. They're like, well, could you like show me more stuff on a chalkboard about it or on a whiteboard?
And there's also a little more comfort, right? Being able to bring out your family or your younger kids or your wife, your girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be a little more comfortable than 100 degrees in the middle of the desert sometimes. Not everyone appreciates that as much as we do.
That was one of my experiences in rally is that I got to go to rally school, right? And for me, it's not that it taught me like new things. It taught me what I was doing was called, right? And I'm like, oh, that's trail braking, or that's how to set up a corner, or whatever it was. Just it created a lexicon for it and some discipline. And then after I did it, I was like telling Ken Block.
Then you start telling your buddies.
Hey, Ken, you need to do rally school because you actually suck as a driver. And Travis Pastrana and then Andy McMillan, BJ, everybody. And I really recommend, anybody who's going to race off road to do rally school.
Definitely.
It gives you a good base. But it's also very different. Like when you're like, hey, you're cornering in a car that has 3 inches of travel, maybe 4 inches of travel. Now you're cornering in a trophy truck that has 26. It's a different beast altogether. And oh, by the way, it's 5,000 pounds. You're going from a 2,000 pound car. It's very different. But you guys doing that, I think it's really cool. It's really necessary. As well as your arrive and drive rental programs. Let's talk about that, because like I get the calls all the time, and I'm like, where do I go, Brenthel? Where do I go, Brenthel? Where do I go? Well, the other problem that we have is that we don't have somebody that's a big UTV outfitter, right?
Yep.
And if a guy's driven some other discipline, he doesn't want to drive a UTV. He wants to drive a truck.
UTVs are amazing. They're great vehicles. They go really fast. I think my whole thing is that the ability a 6100 has to get you through the race course without anything happening to it, I think is phenomenal as a rookie driver.
Sure.
I mean, and the
trucks
UTVs
are so reliable,
but they're
these days.
It's just they're so robust. It's like I tell guys all the time. They're like, "Well, what's the likelihood of me breaking
What's the weak point on the truck?
You're the weak point, man.
Right.
What about the motor? No, the trans? No, like they're like, you just got to remember, they're built for 1,000 horsepower. They've only got 525, right? Every component on them. So it's just, they're very,
it's
very
pretty
reliable.
much don't hit anything at high speed.
Anything. Well, because they ask us all the time, can I rent a Class 10 car? I say, no, I would never rent a Class 10 car. Why not? You're going to rip the front arm.
We don't want to go drag you out of the desert.
Transmission. I'm like, no, not going to happen.
Well, in going back to that too, just between new car sales, new drivers, or arrive and drives, our goal it's it's like sometimes in the past we've heard people go, like someone wrecks or wads up a body, like, hey guys, aren't you look at that, you sold a body. It's like, no, we don't want people to wreck.
No,
we want people to have fun, right?
You'll come back more if you're having a better experience.
We sell a lot more, right? Revenue it's better for business with happy people, because happy people want to come back, they want to race, they want to be competitive, they want to do good in a race, or depending on what your goal is for the day, you're either winning or you got to smile at the end of the day, whatever it is. Like that doesn't work that way.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing I want to talk about is this Fox factory truck, right? So it's really cool. And again, it's funny because, we have our culture of racing, and especially from the mechanical side, we look at stuff and we're like, well, if I was going to do it, I would do these things. And, you know, taking a stock vehicle and modifying it is very difficult from the aspect of like, there's limitations, right? And then also, you know, you've got to go back and get certain things, you know, what is it, ROM approved?
And DOT.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's street legal. So that's not easy either, right? Like you can throw a kid on a car and be like, yeah, it's cool. It's like, but is it all functioning together?
And do you have a warranty, and how reliable is it? And do you have a support team behind you?
I think the other thing for me, just as I guess I would call it as a cultural list, is when I see, you know, the new Raptor, or when I see the new TRX or whatever, and it doesn't have all the right brands, right? It doesn't have real brands on it that are from off-road. I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
You know, why, like lights is one where it's like, it's all solved, dude. Like just go to KC, go to Rigid, you know, go to one of these other brands that has excellent product, Baja Kits, you know, you know, just go to one of those companies and
the standard stuff.
Yeah,
that we know it works, right?
Baja Designs.
Yeah.
But because then it puts equity in the build, right? And that's the one thing that I really look at. And I know it's vertical now with companies that are owned and aligned with Fox, but it's all the right stuff. It's the right tires, it's the right wheels, it's the right lights, it's the right shocks.
Right,
it's
kits.
the right suspension.
It's all race proven or brands that are familiar with desert. And,
yeah. And I think that truck is, to me, you know, what it represents is the new evolution of what I'm going to call super trucks, right?
Yeah.
And I think somebody else has kind of used that word before, but it's this gap between, you know, a $750,000 pre-runner and a really nice stock vehicle that you buy from the dealership.
It's kind of like what we were talking about. We did for Nick Baldwin, you know, a long time ago. But you know, now there's no lights on the dash. So the beauty, I think, of partnering with them and doing that kind of truck is, Jordan and I can work on suspension and do all that stuff, but we're not great at getting Christmas trees off the dash, right? And making all the DOT stuff,
DOT compliant,
road legal, and all that kind of stuff. That was never our forte. So working with a huge corporation like that's like, oh, let me dial that in for you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I really hope that more of the manufacturers look at, you know, Fox and this, you know, this truck, and they follow suit, right?
Yep.
Because I think it's a very good way to do it, you know, and I think it's going to help, because to your point, like one of the challenges for our industry has always been, you know, the business models, right, of aftermarket fabrication. And you know, there are a huge amount of consumers there who are willing to go buy something from a dealership or buy something from a corporation, you know, like Fox. But when they go down to Bob and they hand him $50,000 and he doesn't return a phone call for a year, right? They're pretty bummed.
Yeah.
And they're not going to come back, and they're not going to bring their friends back.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at the, you know, the level of money spent, and just especially recently with the evolution of Porsches, you know, and how everybody just all of a sudden just really got into them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're spending how much for that? Right? Like, I think it's a lot. I think it's cool, but it's worth $50,000, and you spent $450, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's because there is a market, right? And there's reliability. They know they can take it to a dealership. They know they can warranty things. They know they can get things fixed. It's not the Wild West where they're like, can anybody make this part for me?
Yeah.
Does anybody know what geometry this guy was thinking?
Well, it's crazy how much off-road's grown. You know, I think between like Raptors and UTVs, it's just made, it used to be F-150s with white fenders back in high school, right? There wasn't like these legit trucks you get from the OE manufacturers. But I think that we've had customers back in the day that would come in, they bought a Raptor, put $50,000 to it, and then go, met us. Oh, you know, I'm going to buy a trophy truck because this wasn't what I was thinking. I want something that elevated experience. But it's still, at the end of the day, all those things combined have grown our sport. I mean, in the last 10, 15 years, we've seen it grow like insane. And I think
the Raptors were a gateway drug for a lot of people.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And then even our buddy Trey, you know, over in Texas doing the Texas Raptor runs, and like all those guys, it's like they're out there and they're like, oh, wait, racing? And they see like a trophy truck, like what? And they're right, they just start getting interested.
Well, they're usually like, oh, I couldn't afford that. And you're like, oh, how much did you spend on their Raptor? $150,000. You're like, yeah, you could have bought a race truck actually, or
Yeah.
something in that caliber. You're not too far off. And
Or at least you could have done a few rentals.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. But do you guys ever sit back and kind of go, okay, like white fender days, and then really the Raptor was a pivotal moment,
Yep.
right? But that came from right? You know what I mean? That
Absolutely.
came from the
Ford bought our
white fender
kit.
days.
Ford called us and purchased our long travel kit. I'm like, Jordan, should I sell this to them?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. It's $10,000. They want 2 kits. Yeah,
It's like,
we're gonna sell it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll be able to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And over the years, Chevy's done that.
Chevy's
later,
done
and
it.
It's like,
Yep.
everyone's always tries to be a little sneaky about it, but you're like, hey, what are you guys doing with this? Nothing. Wait, just put it on some truck.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Revenue's revenue.
That's kind of, I mean, I hope you guys sit back and like, because as like the position that I'm in, like I'm always talking about, I'm correlating things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying this wouldn't exist without this, and this wouldn't exist without this. So go back and give these guys credit, because it's one thing that I think that our culture has done a very poor job of, is standing up and taking credit, right? Is, when I get a report from the Department of the Interior, it's public, you can go look at it, and it's like $1.3 trillion in outdoor recreation, and OHV is 60% of that. And that's only, so we're like in the 800 and something million.
Yep.
Or 800 billion, and that's only what they can measure on federal land. That's not going. You guys know, like it's a gateway drug. It's the race truck's cheap. It's the trailer, the
Maintaining
chase
it.
truck, the RV, the lifestyle change. Oh, by the way, you're not living in Beverly Hills anymore. 'Cause
You have to move
need a
where you
shop,
live for all
right?
this shit.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a big spend and a big lifestyle change.
Guy from yesterday actually said that he used to live in San Francisco and he moved to Utah, and that was the only way he could start buying all this stuff, right? Like just space wise, not
Now he's a shop, and he's got UTVs, he's got a truck on order, he's got all this stuff, and
Yeah.
cool.
full lifestyle change.
But you're helping people have fun and enjoy life.
Definitely
Absolutely.
putting a lot of new guys into off road racing. That's for sure.
Well, and what I like though too is having the it's like, to me this is like a chess game, and you got to have all the pieces. So you guys are really the only ones who are like, cool, we build race trucks, we build kits, we have a trophy truck school, an arrive and drive program. And we just helped Fox build this really unique, better than
Vehicle,
a Raptor,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so like you're filling all the needs, right? And so again, I look at it selfishly as on the promoter side, and we need all that stuff. Like I need somebody that I can send people to and say, hey, talk to these guys. You can rent a truck from them, or you could purchase a truck from them. Or there's at least a path to like go to their trophy truck school. Cool. You got that. Now rent a truck, come race a race.
And we do coaching and training consistently too. We do all the prep in house. We do the service. We bring them there for them. We're at the Trophy Truck School. We're also building a 7,000 square foot facility in Johnson Valley in process right now. So that'll have 2 classrooms, cafeteria, 7 bedrooms. So
Bay doors to work on the vehicles, store vehicles.
Nice.
Yeah, full true facility. So it is more comfortable for everyone.
And like, let's talk about prep, because that's another important part of it. Is like, one of the problems or one of the challenges with off-road racing is like, if you don't know how to do prep, you don't know how to do chase, like that's a big hurdle. I've watched guys struggle with this, and like I talked to a guy the other day and I said, dude, you're not having any fun. You know what I mean? Just go,
and that's the team that's behind us, right? That's our guys that have been with us for anywhere from 10 to 15 years that just know the game inside and out, and they take care of that stuff. I mean, between our shop managers, leads, and then all the guys underneath them, they kill it at that stuff.
We've had to create departments over the last few years, and like Jonathan said, it's like we have a prep service department with a lead. You got a new truck, new vehicle department with a lead, fabrication, CNC department.
Now we have a fleet department for trailers and regular trucks.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Which is crazy because there's like literally 16 trailers in our yard, and we've got 18 chase trucks and 550s or whatever, and at some point you were like, you're always coming to a new hurdle as you're growing, and at one point it's like the biggest challenge in the shop, and the guys are like, the chase trucks are had an issue. It's like,
They don't have
the
an oil
truck's a
change.
year old. What do you mean? Well, we put a lot of miles on them. And it's like, so it's like, okay. And then the next thing is this. So he's like, okay, right. We got the race trucks. We know how to do those. Those we keep going. So the next thing is, well, you need a fleet service manager just to make sure the trailers are, in one
ridiculous.
piece. And
Yeah.
So now, currently it's one of the things we're doing is we're designing and developing our own, chase beds. It's like, that's not something we want to do. It's not like but we need to do it for
because we
organization.
brought everything in house. We bought
Yes.
8 CNC machines over the past 5 years, right? Where we
Lasers,
used to
press,
outsource, the CNC mills and lathes, and it's like, well, if we're going to buy a bed for X amount of dollars, we could just have control and do exactly what we want, not necessarily cost.
Well, I mean, the last time we bought a bed, I think before this it was like $5,000. Now we're like, now they're 30, and we need 5 of them. It's so we do try to be cost effective, but also we can make it to our needs of what we need exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the problem with being creatives, being designers.
Yeah.
Is like I can buy stuff, but then I look at it and I'm like, I want to do this, do this. And, you know what I mean?
Well, that can be a problem too, because once you start designing, we designed new sand cars. Actually,
I saw that. Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that. We can't even remember all the stuff we do these days.
So I saw that and I'm like, wow, that's really stupid.
That's exactly what we thought.
Well, no, it is and it isn't. I think what's interesting about it is we were talking about it here and Killian was like, no, dude, I think it's brilliant because what's happening right now is that every dude who has a razor right now is like, they're finding the limitations of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is not a car.
Yeah.
This is still a UTV. It still has a belt. And I think my biggest, I wouldn't say it's a complaint because I still think that they're very worth the money.
Yeah.
But like when you start realizing like, that thing's only going to go a couple thousand miles before it starts having problems. Like the duty cycle on it is short. You start realizing like you're not going to have this for 10 years. You know what I mean? You're going to have it for 2.
Yeah.
And depending on how hard if you drive like us after a year, you're like, get rid of it before it just
Next.
before the wheels fall off.
Yeah. It's like everybody who buys one from me is like, how'd you treat this thing? And I'm like,
just do your due diligence.
well, I'm giving you a deal.
It's yours now.
So no, it's why'd you start?
I don't know. Somehow I got a harebrained idea one day and said, well, if revenue drops off here, then you can pick it up here. Well, it never really dropped. And so we started building them anyway and designing them.
And always looking for backup plans.
Yeah, always backup. I mean, I built a shop at my house 10 years ago because we're like, what if we have to move into the shop at the house? And that didn't happen.
We went from 10 to 55,000 square feet.
Now we're in 55,000. So I don't see us ever working out of a 5,000
we can't
square
really.
foot shop again unless it's just him and I.
That would be fun, but
That's a dream. Just Jordan and I working on one trophy truck a year. Back to the sand cars.
Yeah.
Got a little sidetrack there. I don't even remember how it started. I think it was just another revenue stream you wanted to put in there. And it actually started going to Glamis with a buddy 25 years ago. Man, I had a buckshot, if you remember what those are.
Andrew.
Great car, Andrew.
Yep.
Someone else had built it. And so everything on it broke. Like he built the chassis, but like someone else had assembled it. So that was another
just prep service wise, some other stuff.
Steering racks and this and that and the other thing. So I've always loved them, but we haven't gone to the dunes in like 15, 20 years since we were on dirt bikes and then that. So we're like, let's build a sand car. That should be fun. Well, now we had this whole premise of like, well, we're not going to sell one. We can't sell one until we finish it because we want to take our time. We want to really dial it
Which
in.
is opposite of what we've done with usually race.
Usually we take it
orders, we're building it,
and we have a timeline to finish it. Well, we didn't do that. So then 3 years into it, I had 4 or 5 chassis that we own
6.
that we were just building 6. And we're like started slowly, but they're on the back burner, right? There's no money behind them. So
build them as we can. They're either going to be in stock.
Tons of 6100s. And finally, a father-son came along that had race trucks from us. And they're like, well, we're buying 2 new Funkos, but what about those sand cars you guys are building?
Those look kind of cool. We already have race trucks from you. We know the brand. We like you guys.
And I was like, well, we really weren't doing that because I didn't want to screw up and make a timeline. And so I'm like, all right, here's my timeline. And it didn't happen. I failed miserably on the timeline with them, which sucked. And I hate doing that because I don't have to do it on race trucks. Race trucks are pretty easy, right? That's another thing. If you're going to get a race truck by the Baja 1000, you might actually get it by qualifying, but you'll have the truck.
And the vehicles are, it's 100. We've done 150-ish vehicles, to date. And specifically our 6100s, we've done so many of them. It's like we have the system down.
Yeah.
The sand cars, it's a new product. So
Lots of challenges.
Just new. It's new.
We finished them.
Yeah.
Got them done. Went out, took them out with them, and said, what kind of changes do we need to make? Brought them back. I think we're just about finished with all the updates and changes they wanted to do and we wanted to do. And now we sold 2 more of them. Another customer, so we got 4 of them out there now. And
they're it was a unique project just because, right, everything in racing and doing race trucks, we keep it nice and fun, but everything is functional, and that's how that's what we're used to.
Right.
But with a sand car, like honestly, the abuse is very different. It's kind of more like I like to say it's more like a boat, right?
Yeah.
They're shiny, right? You want to keep them nice. You're out there to have fun, but like you're not beating up a sand car like you're taking a truck to the Baja 1000. So it's a very different thing. There's a lot of billet on them. They're shiny. They're nice. The doors, we made doors that open up. There's iPads in the dash.
our original idea, actually, for building them, I even forget half the reasons we started these things, was to build them and bring them to coins and bring them to dealerships and say, hey, it's like a Nautique, right?
Yeah.
It's on the showroom floor. You can't really make any options because it's here and that's what you get. And the idea was, well, if they're coming in to spend $100,000 for a razor that's all done up, maybe we can build one that's not a whole lot more than that. Well, the cars got a lot more expensive over the 5 years that we built them, unfortunately. So they're like $300,000,
like everything else.
Yeah. So it's not that model. I don't know if works that well, but the whole idea was, all right, we'll just build 10 of them on our own, put them in dealerships, and sell them as they go.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Well, again, I think it's interesting because you see these guys fall in love with off-road through UTVs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like totally cool with their UTV. They're like, that's all fast I need to go. That's all the performance I want. But then they're like, they're at the dunes and they see sand cars and like, what's that? Right?
Big screaming V8 going by them. Yeah.
And also it seems like I don't know how many guys are really active building those cars anymore. I think that a lot of them have gone
Very
away.
few. Yeah. There's less than a handful of builders that are really pumping them out nowadays. So
yeah,
there hasn't been a new builder in a while.
And when you can come to a shop where you're legitimately saying like, listen, we race, so this is easy. From a function standpoint, we're more concerned about what color paint you're going to get, right?
Literally,
that's actually exactly what he says. The aesthetics you got to work on a lot more. Yeah.
I think it's cool though too because obviously duning is a part of our culture, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people that race, they're going out and duning recreationally or just riding recreationally, and this gives you another kind of facet to your business.
It's another touch and off road.
Yeah.
That's another thing. The more things you do, right? It's like 4 people buy a sand car, 10 people buy one. One of them's probably going to end up buying a trophy truck at some point from you because they built a relationship and they're like, oh, what's the next level?
Yeah.
Well, this is fun, recreational. You want to go racing? Yeah.
No, it's funny because like I get a lot of phone calls. Everybody knows me, right? And so like there was a era where Robbie was going out to the dunes, right? And every time he'd go to the dunes, I get phone calls. Where do I get one of those trucks? And I'm like,
how do I really buy them?
How do I double a sand dune in a trophy truck?
Yeah. I'm like, here's how much money you're talking. I'm like, it's at that time I think it was like $600,000, and I go, that's a very special one. It's mid-engine. It can do some things that other trucks would not do. It flies good. It's also Robbie Gordon, right? So.
Did I not mention you might not be able to do that?
Unless he drives for you, you're not going to be able to do that, nor do I advise it. But still, I mean, it still happens. Like, when Robbie goes and does SST, people call me and they're like, I want one of those trucks. And I'm like, can't get one of those trucks, but call Brenthel. And, you know what I mean? You could get something that'll be used more than once in a year or whatever. So no, it's really cool. Well, what do what's on your agenda now? Obviously, San Felipe is coming up, the next race, and you're fielding, 5 to 10 trucks a race?
Yeah. Anywhere from 5 to 10 is exactly right. So,
Yep. Yeah, the Baja 1000, the Peninsula run that went backwards. We had, I think, was it 10 or 12?
Yeah.
And that went down. So you had to haul them all down, starting La Paz, and then went back up.
Just the logistics of that is like
absolutely
bonkers.
Yeah. Yep.
People have no idea. They're like, okay, first we need all this to go down to the peninsula, 1,000, well, it's 1,200 something miles on pavement. You got to staff it. You got to insure it. You got to gas it. You got to feed everybody. Okay, cool. You got to that point. Nobody died, right? And then you're like, now let's start the race.
Now we're going to start the race. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I remember doing this estimate for Can-Am, and they wanted to document the Baja 1000, and it was, they wanted to do it the right way.
Yeah, of course.
And Canada has different labor laws than we do. They're a little bit overzealous with hey, you can only work X amount of hours, so on and so forth. So they needed us to put the estimate in those terms. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to add staff. And by the end of it, we're hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And, I get the phone call back. They're like, yeah, budget's too big, but, all this time they're like, I didn't, in the French accent, I did not understand this race was so ridiculous. And I'm like, yep, that's what we do.
That's it.
Right?
That
Doesn't make any sense.
And the guy I was dealing with was like, so explain this to me. You drive straight through the night, never stop. And I'm like, yeah, the race is going, right? You can't just be like,
not document
we're
the
going to
important
stop
stuff
here. It's like, no, we're going to get the pit at 2 a.m. in the middle of nowhere. So, but no, so going forward, I mean, you're working on all these new things too. I know some of them you can talk about, some of them you can't. But obviously, you have a new generation 6100 coming. What else do you guys want to talk about?
I think the big one, aside from the Gen 4 6100, that's massive. But aside from that, it's the school. The school's a lot of our focus, working with Fox and getting the building built out there in the desert, just to elevate the system. We have so much interest from individuals, from teams, from OEs, a lot of training, everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of focuses, but I think if you broke them down into 3, it'd be the all-wheel drive, the school, and the Gen 4 6100.
Yeah.
Going forward, getting some more great results in the all-wheel drive and putting them up front.
Yeah. One thing I was really stoked, obviously, you've helped, you've had Jurgensen race with you. You've had McMullen race with you.
Yep.
Abdali, I'm really stoked to see, because he was like, this is an interesting sport in that you can have a lot of success, but if you don't have the finances to keep going, at some point you're like, hey man, you're sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And when you have these people like Abdali, who is super talented, right? I hate seeing it. It's like, man, I hope that we get to a point where we have enough trucks available where we're like, you should really keep racing.
Yeah.
Like, so I was really stoked to see Abdali racing with you guys,
doing a great job.
Yeah.
He just got third at the Mint.
Yeah, third at the Mint.
Yeah, that's right. He did.
Yeah.
And you were driving with him, right? Did you split duties?
We have been driving together at this race. The Mint, he did. I did not get in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did not get in. He raced the whole thing.
You've done that. You're like, I'm good.
Yeah, it just depends. Yeah, 1,000 race together, 500 race together, 400. I don't even remember. Too many races. So this one he took the whole thing on his own. Though we did do the Mint last year together. I think we got 5th.
Yeah.
So let him take the whole thing.
Any other drivers you guys are rotating in or thinking about?
Definitely thinking about. We've got some up our sleeve for some other races, so we'll see what happens in the future.
Should we tell everybody to send their resumes in?
No. Oh my gosh.
We cannot get to the resumes.
That want to be off-road racers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You don't know. I would be so good, I promise.
I'm really fast in my racing.
I took this one's turn. I'm like, oh, I can't read all these, man.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny, is just, a lot of the resumes and just a lot of interest pops up. And, after people see, it's like, oh, you have people on the team and this and that. It's like everyone wants to drive a race truck, of course. So, but so do we.
No, it's interesting. I had a racer call me. I talked to him for like over an hour, and he came from pavement racing and from the one of the series that was racing overseas and that had electric, and then came over here and did rally. And he was asking me, he's like, well, how does this work? And I'm like, well, you got to pay for your stuff. He's like, well, yeah, just like the other form of racing, but in rally, it was actually, he was going out and getting sponsors, and it was more money, right? Than
He would get paid.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Yeah.
So he's, you know, he was very fascinated with our former race. I'm like, yeah, go talk to the Brenthels. Like, but you know, I was clear. I was like, they're not going to add you into the rotation. You're gonna have to pay for stuff. So.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's cool. I'm excited for you guys for the school in particular, because I think that's going to bring forward a lot of opportunities. You know, I think that we as a culture need more entry points like that, because then we'll get, you know, more of the people that have had experiences in pavement going, I want to go look at this, because up until this, it's been like, well, good luck.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we see. It's just been growing organically, right? Because it's like a buddy tells a buddy tells a buddy, and there is a lot of guys with a lot of money out there that have done really well in life, and that's what we just keep seeing overall. It's like they have a great time. It's super fun. Why wouldn't they tell their buddy and they go do it, and then 4 of them come do it together? So we've had a lot of OEs actually inquire about doing school curriculums. Got some big things on the horizon.
That's awesome.
So we'll see. Yep.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you, Matt.
That was
Definitely.
great.
Yeah.
Good to see you
Thanks for
guys.
inviting us.
Right on.